Hello, everyone, and welcome into Pioneer Basketball with JT Burton. I'm Brian Staten. The Tusculum Pioneers riding an impressive winning streak right now, including 2 impressive wins last week. Arch rival and the longest road trip on the South Atlantic Conference docket. Brian Staten joined by Pioneer coach JT Burton. 2 wins last week that had to be crucial, I think, in a way to still instill some belief that this Pioneer team can thrive and get to a top 4 standing in the South Atlantic Conference, host a conference tournament game. And quite honestly, a year after missing the tournament, it's pretty impressive to be talking about that at this point. Keys for your 2 wins last week against Carson Newman and Coker. What had to happen for your team?
I knew that for Carson Newman, I knew we had to go in and we had to guard their bigs from there because they play inside out. We had to guard the perimeter. We did a really good job of that. We had to make shots ourselves. I mean, and as far as Coker, we had to withstand their pressure because we started out on pretty good, but they started pressing and closed the gap, but was able to make, come away with the win.
All right, let's talk about Carson Newman because Pioneers were looking for the first sweep of the Eagles since 2011. There's so many historic natures to rivalries and matchups and meetings. The first meeting was an historic low for Carson Newman. You held them to below 50 points, first time in South Atlantic Conference play ever. You have to go back to the 30s, 40s, before they had done something like that. Of course, that was just normal back then. They didn't score. They shot in peach baskets back then and did those types of things. No offense, Ralph, but in all seriousness, this was a modern day defensive beatdown in a way in game number 1. So you knew you're probably going to get their best shot in game number 2. They've been scoring the basketball quite well. As a matter of fact, that very next game they put up 112 on Newberry. So it's a team very capable of scoring. You talked about defending their bigs and doing some things like that, but once again, I think you flexed your muscle a little bit defensively. What had to be key in the game, as it turned out, instead of your game plan going in?
Well, we knew they was putting up a lot of points going in the game. We knew they were shooting the ball really well, and we knew that they had changed, made some changes in their lineup, and they went bigger. So if the first half of that game, they was killing us with the high-low.
Yeah.
We made an adjustment the second half, and we was able to negate that high-low so easy. So what we done is we made a few adjustments, and hats off to my assistants, and then we was able to make some shots ourselves.
Seems to be a team that makes a bunch of adjustments. They shoot 52% for the first half. You shoot 45%. What we had? 11 lead changes basically through the entire first half of play. Was one of those things. We talk about defense, we talk about that, but we don't give enough credit, I think, to our offense sometimes. And you had to score because if you didn't match what they were doing, you're probably going to get blown out in the game, especially in that first half. Why were we so good offensively in that first half?
We took open shots, so we didn't take bad shots, and we made those shots. And then we went inside. We got a lot shots in the paint. Tariq did a really good job of penetrating, especially at first half, kind of kept us in it. And then we made some outside shots. Beginning of the second half, Dylan Smith really did a really good job. And then Trenton Gibson done a good job of that little mid-range jump shot he has, and he made a few of those, so it's helped us to maintain that lead and withstand their run.
I think it's the most impressive thing for a freshman in Trenton, what he's been able to do all year long. I always say, the mid-range game is dead. It's not there. No, it's a big part of what we do because it's a big part of what he does, and he's so successful at that. And I think lots of times he just finds an advantage in size, and he realizes that he can elevate. But in this particular game, he seemed to be up against a guy that was very comparable in size, and he was still making that shot. I think that's what I'm more impressed with, what he did this week.
Yeah, he does. He works on that. In his size, he's not as athletic as a lot of guys, but he knows how to use his size and his strength to his advantage. And he done a really good job of getting in a piece of the paint, as we say. And then one thing he done other good job is passing the ball as well. He done a really good job of not turning the ball off, getting the ball to right guys in the right spot. So when Trenton is playing, as I said all year, when he's playing that way, he makes us go.
All right, a Pioneer team. They then goes into the second half, holds Carson Newman to 8 of 22 shooting, just 36% in that second half. You shoot 52%, and we start feeling real happy. And Dylan Smith is a big reason why we can feel happy, because when he's knocking down open shots and we're getting on a run, there's a lot of guys that are out there chirping a little bit, and I mean it in a good way. After a made shot, Caleb Hodnett was doing that. We got out of the gate great in the second half because we were making shots.
Yes, I always tell the guys the first 5 minutes, especially on the road, coming out in the second half are big because, as you know, it's going to kind of set the stage for the latter part of the game. And what we done is we made shots. I mean, and then one thing we was really good at was patient as well.
Yeah.
We was really patient. I mean, we executed, especially out of timeout. So when you're doing that and you're making shots, that's a good combination.
Don't want to overhype the fact that the Pioneers are playing well, obviously, but in the game you get 20 from Hodnett, 12 from Jenkins, 10 from Donaldson, 10 from Gibson, but the 15 points from Dylan Smith, who goes 5 of 6 from three-point territory, and the one that the dagger made it a 22-point game, I think, was at least 25 feet. And I think he continues, he toes the line initially, but then continues to move back. I felt like they defended him. I felt like of those 5 threes, he hit 3 of them that were contested. So, again, that kind of shows what Dylan is doing outside of the game itself. He's getting into the gym and getting up some shots. And also, he's buying into that role a little bit. You brought him off the bench in the game.
Yeah, and he has. I mean, and one thing about him, he's played for me before at Motlow, so he understands what I expect or what we expect as a staff. And that's, what are you doing to affect the game out, during the game if you ain't scoring. But that kid gets in the gym. He does what he's supposed to do on and off the court. And the biggest thing is, I think, is his teammates trusted him.
Yeah.
And, they was getting the ball in open spots, and he was able to make the shots.
All right, it's a Pioneer team that wins 79-65. It got a little dicey there toward the end, and the radio guy wasn't happy with our effort, so we had to call a timeout there a little bit late. But no, in all seriousness, a Pioneer team that goes to Carson Newman and gets a win. Of course, they got the win in 2016 in overtime, 108-100. So the first win at Mossy Creek, first sweep of the Eagles since 2011. And the Pioneers in the contest go over 500 as well, 79-65, outscoring Carson Newman 43-28 in that second half by shooting 48% for the game and holding a team that's shooting about 48% on the year to 44% shooting. So the Pioneers get that win. Then we go on the road and we'll take on a Coker team. And I didn't get to make this trip to Hartsville, South Carolina this year. And I'm so upset because it seems like every time, I don't make a trip or I don't do something, we do something really special. And it was one of those games that you just felt at ease the entire way. Listening, I felt at ease. Getting off to the great start, I felt at ease. 12-0. We haven't gotten off to this kind of start all year. And you come out of the gate against Coker and a tough environment because we just don't play well there, as historically speaking. Why were we so good and why did we get out of the gate so well?
I think the guys was focused in. That was one of the biggest emphasis on this game. I knew we had, like I said, we do play well on the road, especially if we can go the night before.
Yeah. And
it kind of limits our distractions, and the guys showed that. They did that and come out of the gate, right out of the gate, 12-0. Caleb Hodnett was, got going. Everybody was pitching in. So it's always a good sign when they turn the corner at this time of the season.
Trent Gibson went 9 of 13 from the field. Once again, we're talking about the freshman, the diaper dandy. Was there an advantage? Was there a matchup that he took advantage of?
No, he did. What he did is, Trent, I ain't gonna say per se it's a matchup. It's he's so patient, and when he's got, I don't think he hit a 3, but what he done is he's got in the lane, and we always say get a piece of the paint. We have a certain number we want to hit every game, and with Trent, he takes his time, especially he's gotten comfortable with guys pressuring him now, and he almost invites that. And with his size and height and his strength, he's able to shoot over top of guys and make those shots.
Caleb Hodnett goes for 13 points in the game. Tariq Jenkins, once again, 16 points in the contest. But we had a Cam King sighting. We had a Jackie Davis sighting in the game. The others that I mentioned, we're kind of used to them. But when we get Cam King going, we get Jackie Davis going, we're nigh unbeatable, I think.
Yeah, we're pretty good when they're going. Cameron King only had like 1 or 2 rebounds, but he had 8 points. And I told him it's a confidence thing with him right now. He's just in a slump, and it's all about confidence. Jackie Davis has been the glue, another glue piece for this team, especially here late, because I put him in X5 on defense, and he does a really good job of keeping the defense off other team off the boards. He had 11 rebounds, and along with a couple points, so that's always a plus. All
right, it's a Pioneer team that, again, we don't ever get off to a very good start at Coker. It was 12-0. They carried that on. Coker did make it interesting, but I was more impressed by listening and by watching some of the stats. Khalil Halls was never able to get off to a great start. He's one of the greatest scorers in our league, and whether it was on purpose or whatever it was, why were you guys successful against him?
Because we tried to take him out of it early. We didn't let him get good shots. We shadowed him the whole game, and whenever he caught the ball, we wanted to be, at least right there in his face, because you can't let him get going.
Yeah.
And we did a really good job of keeping the ball in his hands, and we switched up defenses a couple times, and kind of took him out of his rhythm. So was able to keep the ball in his hand and keep him from scoring.
Pioneer team, yeah. This is a kid that showed what he can do in the second half here at Pioneer Arena. Never had that opportunity, never really got going. They did have some post presence in the game, and were you disturbed by that, the fact that they were scoring in the paint?
No, because the size. I mean, you got Jackie Davis playing at X5, like I just said. He's guarding a 6'8" guy, and he's only 6'3", 6'4". So you're gonna have that. I mean, some defense assignments was missed, but we made an adjustment. That's when we put some size with Cameron King and Brandon Mitchell came off the bench. Gave us a few sparing minutes, and we was able to kind of negate that size factor that he had.
I think for the Pioneers, it's important to get off to the good start. Here's the team that had lost 13 straight. You didn't want to give them any hope on a senior day, playing in front of a decent crowd. There's usually a decent crowd there. They've had a tough go of it, so you gave them very little hope, in the contest. And I think for you, making more shots. We continued to make shots, continued to do those types of things. How key was that? How was the key? The first 5 minutes of the game basically the key for the rest of the game?
Yeah, it was, because we wanted to get on a fast start, because you can't let a team, you can't go by in this conference. It doesn't matter what your record is, because you can get beat any given night. And we knew that there was senior day. It was nice crowd. Some of these guys had a lot of them had their parents there and friends. And if you let a team like that get going early, they could beat you. But we did a really good job of staying the course and being able to come out and starting fast in the game.
A Pioneer team that gets a 4th consecutive victory, and right now is sniffing number 5 in the South Atlantic Conference and has eyes on number 4 in the South Atlantic Conference. Obviously a very big week. We're going to talk a little bit more about that very big week when we return after this. Pioneers get a season sweep against 2 teams, Carson Newman and Coker last week. They'll go for a sweep of 1 and a split of another to end another big streak when we return with more Pioneer basketball with Coach J.T. Burton.
So much of life these days is rushing around from one place to another. Sometimes you just want to enjoy the journey on the way to the destination. And part of what makes it a little more enjoyable is an appreciation for the folks who help you get there. At Ingalls, we know that the people who send you on your way are the same ones who keep you coming back.
I think you should take it for a spin. Are you serious?
Ingalls, all the ingredients for family.
We welcome you back into Pioneer basketball with Coach J.T. Burton. I'm Brian Staten. So the Pioneers have won 4 consecutive, found themselves 2 games over 500. We haven't talked about that in some time, and over 500 in the South Atlantic Conference as well. Staring right up at Lenore-Ryan, you still have that number 4 team that you're, in sights with. You've got Queens and LMU kind of distancing themselves a little bit there in the top 2. Catawba's finding a rough go of it, and then there's Wingate right there at number 4. So a couple of teams who are above you in South Atlantic Conference play. During this 4-game winning streak, we've taken care of teams that are near us or behind us. What has to be key for this week to get a sweep of Wingate or to get a split with LMU during the regular season?
We got to continue to do what we do. We can't turn the ball over. If you look at our assist to turnover ratios, these last 4 games have been, very good, and we can't turn the ball over. And then we got to make shots, because you're talking about LMU is a very good defensive team, especially in the half court. So we got to make sure that we execute our stuff. We got to make shots, and we can't turn the ball over. And then we have to rebound as well.
We didn't see Cornelius Taylor last time that LMU played us, but they got great scoring from everybody else. And there will be people that will say, well, Taylor takes a lot of the shots, and you see the stats, he does take a bunch of shots. And with him not out there, there were lots of shots to share, and it just showed how good LMU's team was. Well, now that Taylor is back, he's still running the show. He's an All-American. He's dangerous. Is it more that we're playing the name on the jersey instead of just playing the game? I mean, is there some belief that we got to go out and just we were demolished at LMU early, and you came in after the post game and said, this is my fault, this is on me, yeah, I get it, But I've seen that over the last, what's the streak, 37,000 games right now? I'm not sure what it is. How much of it, though, is somewhat psychological, and we've got to get the guys going early.
Well, I mean, a lot of it's psychological, I think, because, I mean, I think it was kind of shell shock, and it was shocking to me because we hadn't done it all year. Yeah. But, I mean, it's like you said, it's the name on the front of the jersey, but you can't do that. And I think that now we're getting some confidence. I mean, you got some of these guys that's been here, like Caleb Hotnett, Brandon Mitchell, Jackie Davis, Donaldson. Those guys have the one that's got to get the psychological part of it because, you know, they've been unfortunate enough. They haven't been fortunate enough to win. So we got to go in this game, you know, take it a possession at a time and do what we do best. And then, you know, you never know what happens because that last game, I mean, we just came out, we spotted them again, 18 points, and we cut it to, 11, 9, I think. And we showed ourselves we could do it. We just got to do it a little earlier.
Pioneers have been a second-half team all year long, and in that second half against LMU, made it interesting before, again, they just hit some more shots. Wingate was the start of a streak, an overtime streak in an overtime game that we get a win, big win at Cuddy. Last year, it's a Wingate team that was down 18, rallied for a big win. That was a huge psychological blow for the team. I think that is what killed us the second half of the year. So it's the regular season finale, and it's a team that will want some revenge. We got to defend our home turf.
Yes, we do. I mean, that's a big thing. I mean, because they're going to be after revenge because I'm pretty sure they felt like we have a couple games. They let one get away from them, especially at their spot. So we got to come out. I mean, we got to come out and be ready to go. And again, it's all, I put everything on us because we have to do what we have to do, you know, as far as executing, rebounding, do what we do best to win those games.
Not an easy way to end the season, but then again, the top 4 teams are all playing each other this week as well. So it is hard telling how this whole mess will be sorted out with the Pioneers a game lead against the Anderson Trojans for that number 6 spot. Looking at number 5, can you get to 4? Maybe by the time it's all said and done, you're riding a 6-game winning streak. You're sitting there at number 3 in the league. I'm not sure that's going to happen, but
it's possible.
It is possible.
It's possible. So, you know.
Yeah. Stay tuned. You
Yes.
can tune in to the game Wednesday night. We'll begin about 8 o'clock. Thereabout. The women's game will be first, and then on Saturday, Senior Day. We didn't really get a chance to talk about that. We'll talk about that a little bit more. You know, your first year, I know you've developed a bond with some of these seniors, but I didn't think I would realize how important that these seniors would be in carrying us through.
It's been unbelievable. I mean, I told them at the beginning of the year, you know, when we all assembled that first morning at 6 a.m., and I told them, I said, guys, this is going to be tough. It's not going to be easy, but you got something special if you can stick it out. I mean, you got Donovan Donaldson, Austin Hall, Malik Tyree, and Jackie Davis. Those 4 guys, I mean, you know, Austin hasn't been here, but it's his first year. But those other 3, they've been through the war. So it's good to see them like the other night after we won. And I was telling you about the sweeps, and they just reflecting back on how things have been this year and how fast this went. And it's been a pleasure coaching these guys. I mean, they've been very good on and off the court, and that's all you can ask for.
We'll talk a little bit more about their careers next week at our next show as well. And then tune in Saturday. We'll have the breakdown for the seniors for the Pioneers. It's been a good week. You're riding a 4-game winning streak. It ain't over yet.
No.
That guy knows it. Join us on Wednesday here on the Pioneer Sports Network through the Tusculum YouTube channel. We'll have both of the games streaming live through TusculumPioneers.com. For everyone behind the scenes, Nick Forsberg, Dom Donnelly, and Jim Miller, he's Pioneer coach JT Burton. I'm Brian Staten. Until next week, go Pioneers.